Hello, my name is Amanda Ursum, and today we will be talking about the problem of how to communicate in the workplace. We're going to take our time and we're going to break this down into two separate categories. First, we're going to talk about the employee aspect of communication within the workplace, and then we're going to discuss the managerial aspect of communicating in the workplace because there are very different steps that you need to take for these two different styles. Today we will be helped by Michael Lewis with his 10 tips to develop effective workplace communication skills. And we're going to get started with the employee aspect of communication in the workplace. So for this, there are three different steps. The first is you're going to want to understand the situation and you're going to want to be understanding. If you can understand the situation and you can be open-minded and understanding towards the other individual, you're more likely to communicate successfully as to the other individual not becoming agitated or angry or antagonized by the situation. So it is important that you be understanding and you really try and look at the situation from the other person's perspective. Next is you're never going to want to personalize criticism. If you give anyone constructive criticism, make sure that A, it is constructive, and B, that it's never personal. Try discussing the individual's problems rather than personality flaws. If an individual feels that the communication that is taking place is becoming a personal attack towards them, they will start to shut down and they will probably become angry or agitated. Now, the last step under the employee communication in the workplace tips is learn from your mistakes. This is an important aspect to carry with us throughout all of life, but especially with communication. If you make any mistakes, just don't be afraid to own them. Don't be afraid to say, yes, I made a mistake and I won't do it in the future because of this. That will show the other individual that you're trying to communicate with that you really are making an effort to make sure that this is a team effort. Alright, so now we're going to be moving on to the manager aspect of communicating in the workplace. Just like with what was said about the employee communication, you're not going to want to be personal. You're going to want to address problems and not personalities. If you address the problems, the person will feel that there's something that can be changed, that they can make certain changes to their daily routine to change this. But if you start talking about their personality, automatically people will start to become defensive. And once they do this, no communication is going to be accomplished. So next is you're going to want to assign tasks directly and clearly. As a manager, it's your duty to make sure that day-to-day operation goes smoothly, no matter where you work. So assigning tasks that are specific for one person and are crystal clear are very important. That way you're not getting double coverage on a certain task or you're not getting a task ignored. So next is when you're talking with your employees, your subordinates, if you will, try and talk with them face to face. This will be a personal meeting, so the individual won't feel as threatened. If you're using things like email or a form of messenger, there's a million of them, but if you use these tactics, it's very impersonal and it's very hard to tell inflection and tone. If you don't know how the person is reacting to the situation, you might jump to conclusions of your own as the subordinate. You might assume that the person is angry, you might assume that they're being mean when maybe they're just being sarcastic, trying to be funny. So meeting face to face is very important because you can really feel out the other person's emotions towards this. Next, you're going to want to gather and confirm any information before making any decisions. This is just the concept of informed decision making. You always want to know exactly the situation you're dealing with before any irreversible decisions are made that could affect either the company or the individual's future. You never want that because it will break down the opinion of the company. If the employee has a bad view on the company, they will most likely tell people they know about it. So you're going to want to gather and confirm any information so that way you know you're completely informed and you don't have any unnecessary hostility towards either yourself or the company or within the individual you're talking to. So your next step is you're going to want to consider the situation before taking any action. And this is just like gathering and confirming information. But when you consider the situation, you try to take into consideration the extenuating circumstances around a certain situation. For example, an employee is talked to about their attitude. One thing that the manager should take into the consideration within this situation is maybe the individual that they're talking to is just an extreme introvert, and they don't necessarily have a bad attitude, they just aren't very vocal, and they really don't know how to approach people. You could talk to them about how to talk to people or something like that, but firing an individual for the situation is a bit extreme, especially if you do see that this is a personality characteristic. You can still be an introvert and talk to people, but you do need to but this should be taken into consideration from a manager's standpoint. So the last aspect that I'd like to talk about under the managerial aspects of how to communicate within the workplace are to manage individuals and not groups. If you're managing groups, then you're making generalized ideas. Whereas if you're managing individuals, you know exactly who that individual is and how they work and how they might be able to better change what they're doing. So lastly, I'd just like to say that as a manager, never be afraid to talk to or ask your staff's opinion. To me, this is the biggest thing within communication, is asking the opinion. If you're going to make a change that affects everyone, ask the staff, assemble a staff meeting, and make the opportunity very present and very, very open. Institute an open door policy if necessary, but you are going to want to get feedback from your staff, and not all feedback has to be listened to or it has to be implemented. There we go. But you are going to want to get your staff's opinion, because if the staff has the opportunity to offer their opinion, they're more likely to feel like they're part of the decision-making process, which makes them feel like part of the team. So thank you for listening to my tips for communication skills within the workplace. It's been a pleasure talking to you.